Welcome to Lummi. I want to thank our elders for still being here. You know, it may have been a long day, but it means so much for me as a member of my tribe to see our elders here yet still. And it's I guess school's in session for me when this happens. I'm supposed to talk about knowledge of place, and for me, knowledge of place, knowledge for me means our Shlangan in my community, my family. A little bit about my family. I come from the Balch Celestine family and the Solomon Ballew family here at Lummi. And I consider myself Lactamish. We are the survivors of the flood. But I've been here maybe 2 or 3 years with Emma, and I'll be honest with you, it hasn't been an easy 2 or 3 years sometimes. Passing on information, gathering information, only because of the multicultural people we serve here in our community at Northwest Indian College. There's many cultures that me as a person have to respect and understand. And, a couple of my former students are here and they say, we know everything about Lummi, Tim. When are we going to start learning about? And I'm not going to mention your reservations and stuff, but if we look at ourselves and look about how we grow up, talk about our culture, we're just about the same. When I say just about the same, when we talk about culture, what the rain represents, what the water represents, everything that has to do with our Shlangan. It's going to be a blessing for me because Tom's still here. I met Tom 1981. He was a teacher. He was a teacher in Vancouver Island, and I always remembered what he did, knowledge of place. He was trying to help Vancouver Island people, the Indigenous people, and, I utilized some of that teaching he passed on 1981 and 82, and, sometimes we have never had an original thought, yeah? We always learn from somebody. We always pass this on. I guess how I approach class today is historical trauma in Native American families and communities. We need to understand what historical trauma is. We need to understand who we're serving. And we're never supposed to go higher than who they are as an individual. And that takes a little patience. I always tell Emma we have to have patience. I said we have to be like the river or water sometimes. And, it never runs fast all the time. But, that's part of my grooming, my teaching. I was very fortunate younger when I was young. I guess I'll tell you the truth, I had elders telepathically telling me to come see them. I don't know why I used to go see them, but, they were teaching me something. And this one individual, he made me go see him every day for probably 3 or 4 years. He didn't talk much. He explained what the water was, what the wind was. He talked about how we're supposed to treat the salmon. Pacific Northwest, why is the salmon so important? If we go back to the year 400, when they started the relation really started with the salmon, with Swatan, how they had us create a reef net to harvest them. They were part of our family, the story of the salmon women. I always tell Emma, I want to teach what I was taught, but is it science? I always ask Emma, what is science? Since I'm in the science department, I ask her, is it a religion? I don't know. To me, science is the elements, being in a natural world. And, that's the way our great-grandparents were. That's the way our uncles were. And, so that's the way I kind of approach class here at Northwest Virginia College. A lot of times it's repetitive, same thing over and over and over. And one of my past students, she's shaking her head, yeah. But in ceremony, that's the way it is in our ceremony. They want you to know and want you to understand. This knowledge of place, I believe it's sovereignty. For me, may mean something different than other people, but sovereignty, that's what it means for me. If I don't know who I am and don't know where I come from, it may not be sovereign in the next generation. When I speak of teaching and sovereignty, I take my two grandboys out with me fishing. That's sovereignty, to continue to pass down what my great-grandparents taught me. It's not part of science, I guess. It's sovereignty. I was very fortunate. Right up the hill here, our great-grandmother lived, Aurelia, from the Ballew family, and she talked from everything from Mount Baker to the molehill in the yard, what it represented. Two different hills, yeah, one big, one small. And wouldn't you know it, the molehill was more powerful than Mount Baker, the way she explained it. And that's history. That's who she was. And so there's a reason for those teachings. There's a reason for those words. And one of these days I'm going to share with somebody the real purpose of the molehill. And maybe tomorrow, I don't know. I used to be real stingy 10 years ago. I never shared nothing what my grandmother told me, and I thought it was mine. And it isn't. It defines who we are as a family. If we don't continue to share and pass down information, I know Cliff knows this. Once a person gets on the boat on the water, we transform into something else. I'm not Tim Ballew when I get on the boat. For some reason, I'm not going to try to figure it out. It's just the way it's supposed to be. I believe that's what maybe the canoe journey is all about. Never attended one, never watched one. I'm not interested in it. Maybe it's culture 101, I don't know. But it's good for the people that do that. We all have to continue to learn something from where we come from. But anyways, I mentioned historical trauma, understanding who you're speaking to in class. And, myself, I have to ask them to be patient. Be patient with me, but more importantly, being patient with your cohort students. Some of them are really quick to learn. Some are just going to sit there and wait. But, our great-grandmother never left nobody out. She treated us all the same, no matter how fast we learned. And that's kind of how I run my class, little patience. And, it's okay for me. And I know it's not okay for some of the other students in the class, but, I tell them this is the way I have learned. This is who taught me this, and, just a brief background. But knowledge of place, I still think it's our Shillelagh. how we do things here in our community. More importantly, how we do things in our family. Not long ago, the majority of people in this community had family law. Family law was a science, I guess. Family law was the court system, sovereignty. In our family, the oldest lady in the family's the law, the boss, whatever she says goes. And, I'm kind of maybe getting a little bit older in my lifetime here. And my mother, Ernestine, still tells me I'm doing something wrong. And I used to say, God, Mom, I'm blah, 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 old. But, I have to respect that, yeah? Maybe she's going to give me a break one of these days. But, that's family law, yeah? Another way I kind of instruct is each one of us has a role, no matter where we come from in Indian country. And we have to understand that. If we don't understand what the female role is versus the male role, it's going to be really harder and harder to teach, I think. And this was one of the rules that our grandmother told us growing up. So, that's kind of important for me to continue to pass down some of this to the people that come to Northwest Indian College. And some of them understand that and some don't. The way I instruct as well is I have to recognize members that come from a reservation and members that come from the city. They call them the urban Indians. A little bit different than, say, a member from Yakima or Lummi. We have to understand that. I truly believe that. If we don't, it's going to be harder and harder to instruct and get something through to these individuals. We're supposed to try to know everybody, I believe, when we sit and talk with people. It's really hard for me here at Northwest Indian College to slow people down. I have a past student here, and he was always excelling. And, he was leaving the class behind. And so we had to kind of slow down. And so I made him part of the class. And, I kind of did the administrative role. I said, last person into the classroom, you're running the class. It kind of worked out a little bit, but, I was really trying to engage, and I'm really trying to develop a cohort for these people to be family, even though they're not from here. We all have to be family sometimes, and the extension of family in Indian country is true. But I think I'm going to stop, Emma. Everybody's tired. I know you're tired. I know you guys want to go out and eat some herring eggs. They're really delicious. They're good for your system. I haven't had them in probably 1976 when our father dried them. And that's the last time I ate them. Once was enough for Ballew. But they may be good, right, Rita? But anyways, I appreciate you guys. I know it's been a long day. This is my very first time attending a symposium. I'll be honest with you guys, I never knew this man. I never studied him. I read a couple articles. I told Emma, I don't agree with him, but that's me. And Emma said, but we have to look at what he's done in Indian country. But, it's good to be here today. It's really good for me to listen to everybody's thoughts and views of sovereignty, culture, and values. That's important. That's what I continue to pass down under our roof. My house is sovereign. my kids and grandkids, they know who the boss is. But I enjoyed listening to everybody today. We have a long ways to go.